if you want to extend your Abraham Accords, like you said, Mr. President, the way to do that is not by taking over Gaza and expelling 2 million Palestinians. That Saudi Arabia is not going to go for that.
King Abdullah of Jordan is at the White House this afternoon for a meeting with President Trump. Now, this visit comes, of course, after Trump suggested plans to, quote, clean out Gaza while threatening to cut aid to both Jordan and Egypt if they didn't accept displaced Palestinians. Daniel Lippman is a White House reporter at Politico. So, Daniel, a fascinating conversation in prospect between these two men today. What is likely to be on the agenda?
Well, all of what Trump has kind of been discussing in terms of making Gaza part of America, at least temporarily. And I'm sure King Abdullah is going to really push back and say, hey, this would destabilize my country if I took all of these Palestinians, that I already have hundreds of thousands of Palestinian refugees already. And you don't want to have a Jordan that is teetering in terms of his rule being up for grabs. And so I think that's the case that Abdullah is going to make. But I think that he's also going to know that Trump is, it's very hard and logistically difficult to make this possible for the U.S. to actually take control of Gaza and to rebuild it. And so that this might be in the kind of the fantasy aspect of some of his proposals.
Who needs who more here? Jordan really needs American aid, but the states, the American administration must want him to stay in charge, as you've already indicated.
Yeah, he is a longtime ally. He has worked with our intelligence agencies very well over the years. There are, I'm sure, lots of CIA agents embedded in Jordan, monitoring everything, making sure that we know what's going on in Syria, in Israel, in Iraq. And so I do think that Abdullah needs Trump a little bit more than Trump needs Abdullah, because it's not really the existential stake of his country is more in play. And for the U.S., this is more of almost a Middle Eastern adventure that doesn't have really existential stakes for the U.S.
It is such a complicated picture in Jordan, isn't it? I think almost half or more than half of King Abdullah's people are of Palestinian descent. He's got refugees there from Iraq, he's got refugees from Syria, and he's got many, many hundreds of thousands of Palestinians living in camps in pretty diabolical conditions. It's a pretty tricky situation for him, isn't it?
It is. And I think that what the case he's also going to make is, if you want to extend your Abraham Accords, like you said, Mr. President, the way to do that is not by taking over Gaza and expelling 2 million Palestinians. That Saudi Arabia is not going to go for that, and that you will not see a peace deal between the Saudis and the Israelis anytime soon if that is your message. And so there has to be a middle ground in terms of having Arab forces potentially on the ground doing security, bringing in the Palestinian Authority. That's more in the realm of possibility, and trying to get rid of Hamas that way instead of having the U.S. mired in another Iraq or Afghanistan style Middle Eastern conflict.
Will King Abdullah be bearing messages from other Arab leaders and other Arab states?
I'm sure he will be. That he talks to his colleagues in the region all the time. And so he is the first Middle Eastern leader to meet with President Trump. And so that's a high honor for him and rewards him as a loyal American ally over the years. But I think that to bring to have Trump believe that it's not just King Abdullah saying it, that it's MBS, that it's other leaders in the region who Trump knows and worked with the last time around, that it's a united front, then that is going to be important as well. The problem is the Israelis were pretty delighted by Trump's proposal, and so they're not really couching him to backtrack. And the latest wrinkle now is how Hamas says they're not going to release any more hostages for the immediate future. And so they have to, Trump has said, hey, all hell will break loose if you do that. And so that's kind of a more of an immediate issue that they have to work with.
Has there been any update at all on that? I mean, that phrase, all hell will break loose. I mean, it's pretty chilling, whichever side of this desperate struggle and argument you're on. Language like that is pretty inflammatory and actually very frightening, isn't it?
Well, it's not like Trump is unleashing it himself, although the U.S. is a strong backer of Israel. What is ironic is that he got a lot of Arab American voters in Michigan, which was a critical swing state for him. And so you have to wonder, do those people regret their votes, or did they want to send a message to Harris, even if Trump was going to be worse on the Palestinian issue than they had hoped or expected?
Well, I mean, that's a really interesting point. What do we know about how those people are feeling right now about their decision to back Trump?
Well, they were happy that he helped bring together that ceasefire. And so if it can hold, they will give him some credit. And he is talking about helping rebuild Gaza, which is going to be very important. But the issue is that there's a dichotomy, because he himself has said, has waffled on, are there going to, in his fantasy world where the U.S. takes over Gaza, would Palestinians be expelled for a temporary time or for a permanent time? Even the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, has said temporary, but then Trump has undercut her as well. And so you kind of have to go with Trump on this in terms of being the more senior rank official than his own press secretary.
Yes, I mean, that's certainly true. But consistency has never been his strong suit. And actually, consistency doesn't seem to be expected of him, which is baffling to many of us. But his supporters don't really care about that, do they?
Not really. They what they view as consistent is that they think that he is fighting for them, that he is not going to entangle himself in other foreign conflicts where this would seem to differ from that. And they feel like he fights against the establishment, and they feel left behind by the establishment. They think that they've gotten a raw deal in American modern life, and that you look at lots of trade deals like NAFTA, where millions of jobs, manufacturing jobs especially, went to Mexico and Canada, and they say, hey, the Washington, both parties, has abandoned the middle class in favor of wealthy donors on Wall Street. Just
briefly back to the King Abdullah meeting with President Trump. Is there any chance at all of some sort of joint press conference, or is that highly unlikely today?
Yeah, they've said that that's not going to happen, but there will be shouted questions. We'll see if Abdullah takes any of them, or if Trump kind of is his heat shield in answering some questions.
Right, heat shield. OK. More executive orders signed overnight. One is banning paper straws. Now, this is all about the environment, of course, and President Trump isn't overly invested in the idea of net zero, I think it's fair to say. So the ban on paper straws, how's that gone down?
A lot of Americans were tired of paper straws because it's a little harder to drink your coffee or your iced chai. And so there's not a lot of tears shed there's not a huge caucus on Capitol Hill of the paper straws caucus. And so maybe they can, if they can find a way to use recycled plastic, maybe that would salve some of the people who care about this issue.
Right. OK. Where do you stand on it, Daniel? Just as a matter of interest, would you like your chocolate shake through a paper straw, or would you go plastic?
Well, my friend has this coffee company called Compass Coffee. It's very popular in DC, and I've told him sometimes, hey, these straws are not working. So we'll see. I'll check in with him, and I'll let you know on the next broadcast where is he down on.
We'll hold you to that. Thank you very much. That's Daniel Lippman, who's a White House reporter at Politico.